Welcome to the Lightforge. This is ADWCTA.
This is Merps, and we are on week 2 of the expansion reveal. So we got some juicy new cards to talk about.
Okay, so if you've been living under a rock, and I'm going to start every single podcast like this for like the next reveal period, we're in MSG land now. The Mean Streets of Gadgetzan is the next expansion. It's been announced. It's about gangs, and the first gang was the Grimy Goons, which were like the weapon dealers and like the Irish Italian mafia kind of like deal. And now the Cabal has been released or revealed, and the Cabal is a bunch of like mages who like made potions that were so powerful that other mages were like, no, get away from us. You
Wow,
shouldn't do that.
what a storyteller.
I know, I know. This is what happens when I just woke up from a
Wow.
nap. So we just both woke up from a nap, like right now, like
Yeah,
literally
I know.
like 10 minutes ago. Not together. We're still in different places. But yeah. So if we sound a little sleepy, that's probably why. I got my coffee here with me. I'm ready to go. But it may take a little bit to wind up. So anyway, there's the Cabal, and that's what they do. They do potions, and so we were wondering what the new mechanic is, right? One of the cool things with the Grimy Goons is that there was a new mechanic. Well, not like new, but it's something that hasn't really been used before, which is that you buff stuff in your hand, +1/+1. So you'll have something like a Grime Street Smuggler, for example, which is a card, and it is 3 mana, 2/4, common, neutral. Can be played in all three of the Grimy Goons classes, which is a Hunter, Paladin, and what's the other one? Warrior. And it's a 3 mana, two
Yes, very
four,
nice.
and it says Battlecry, give a random minion in your hand +1/+1. So, slightly understated for a 3-drop, but then it buffs your tempo later. That was the Grimy Goons mechanic. So, what mechanic, Merps? What mechanic is the Cabal?
Cabal make potions. They make potions, and potions are cool. Potions are very powerful, and we will be talking about potions today.
So what are potions?
Potions are spells, basically. And I think all of them are spells. Like, I don't think there is a minion potion yet. I'm trying to like cover all my bases here. I don't want to be wrong about this.
Okay, so there's one of these cards. The Tri cards are the ones that 3 classes have access to. So the Cabal, if you're wondering, is Mage, Priest, and Warlock. They're like the Magic classes, and so they're Tri cards. You have this rare Tri card, obviously, that all of them have, and the Cabal is the 3 mana 2/2. Battlecry, discover a Mage, Priest, or Warlock card. We've known about that card for a while. The new card that was revealed is the Cabal Chemist, which is the common Tri card, and much like the I need to learn these names. Much like the Grime Street Smuggler card, the Cabal Chemist is a 4 mana 3/3 with a battle cry that says add a random potion to your hand. And again, this can be accessed by all 3 Cabal classes, and the potions are potions from any of those 3 classes. So I don't know if Blizzard's officially confirmed this yet, but what everybody suspects is that this means any card with the name Potion in the name.
Right.
It's not like a separate. It's not like a toxin, right? Like you have Zeril in that like rogue legendary that gives you like a toxin, and then they have a list of toxins. It's not like a dream card from Ysera. It's not like a special set of cards. It's like just any card that they release with the word potion in it.
Yeah. I think it has been confirmed that that is what it is, right? Which is a little bit weird as well because the potions that have been released, it's not like they have a label or a tag underneath,
Yeah.
right? So it's a little bit confusing. I'm surprised they didn't add sort of a tag because now there is this sort of, I won't call it a mechanic, but there's a grouping of potions,
Mm-hmm.
right? So you really should sort of tag everything as a potion, if it is a potion. But anyways,
Yep. I mean, it's Hearthstone. If it wasn't for some like inconsistencies in the language of the cards, this would not be the same game. So it's a 4-mana 3/3 add a random potion to your hand, and you may be thinking, well, we have like a Gnomish Inventor. It's a 4-mana 2/4 draw a card. How good are these potions that we would want to add a random one to our hand? Are they all good? Because remember, if you're looking at something like a Gnomish Inventor, you're adding a card that you've already pre-selected. So if all the potions are good, then that's fine. It's like the same deal, right? If all the potions are OP, then that's actually better. If all the potions are just like regular cards, you don't really like. This is not that great of a card, because we keep saying this, right? Like, add a random X to your hand is not anywhere near as good as draw a card.
Right. But so we do know that potions are spells, right?
Mm-hmm.
And spells are pretty freaking good, right? Like, you drawing something that has initiative is going to be better than, like, Tomb Spider is very good, but most of the time it's going to be something that doesn't have initiative. You can choose something, which is the flip side of it. You get to discover, right? But beasts don't really have initiative, so it's sort of a give and take there.
The Warhorse begs to disagree.
Wow, that's true. That's true.
Okay, so that's where the potions are, and I'm just going to start going down the list of potions so we know what we're talking about here. There's not a good way to discuss this. It's like, I don't know. Like, you called this last week, right? Like, last week we were like, what's the Cabal going to be? Because we thought Cabal was coming up next, and you just called potions. Just right off the bat, you said they're going to share potions. And I was like, I don't know about that. That seems like a stupid idea. That's not even a new mechanic. And I was wrong. But I hold on to the fact that I think this is not a very great mechanic, because it's not a mechanic. Right? Like, how do you feel about potions in general before we start talking about potion, like the specific ones? Like, they're just spells. There's nothing to them.
Right, and it goes back to our theory that about class convergence, right? Mm-hmm. You are literally just giving these spells to 3 classes, kind of. I mean, you're giving easier access, right?
Yeah, I mean, if you're talking about class convergence, yes, the tri-class cards are class convergence.
Well, no. I mean, spells are sort of those things that really do keep a class unique, right? Mm-hmm. If you look at what keeps classes the most unique, they're spells. Because spells are always a problem in Hearthstone because of the initiative factor, right? Mm-hmm. And the fact that, unlike Magic the Gathering or other card games, you can't do anything when it's your opponent's turn. Yep, so if your opponent plays a spell, it's always going to be uniquely powerful in Hearthstone, because you can not do anything. So initiative is very good, and so spells sort of define different classes. So when you give the same spells to like an entire third of your class diversity, it's going to sort of make this problem that we're talking about a little bit worse.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, I mean, that's a great point. And I guess it's just I'm just disappointed that there's nothing more to potions. Like, that potions don't all like do something. They don't, like, I don't know, stack or mix or whatever, right?
Yeah, that's something that I talked about last week as well. I was like, oh man, I'm hoping that they mix, right? Like, I was expecting potions to be smaller, like, so I didn't call it exactly. I was saying I think it is potions, but I was hoping that they would be a little bit smaller, right? Because as we'll see, these potions are pretty big sometimes.
Some are big, some are small.
Some are big, some are big, some are small.
Potions come in all sizes, guys.
And I was hoping that they would mix somehow. But even when I was saying that, I was like, we're getting a little bit too, maybe a little bit too complicated, right? Not only do you get a potion and you have to mix. I'm like, how do players like tell, right? You're not going to bring up like an ingredients list after they get the potion.
You could just have a potion and it has like a choose one, right? One is an effect, the other one is buff an existing potion in your hand.
Yeah.
Right, but, with this quality, and you just like pick the one.
Right.
It's not like that hard of a mechanic to like put into the game UI-wise, and it's not that confusing either. It's just probably harder to balance without making it stupid. Like, you can make it so bad, right? If you would always pick one or the other, right? Because one is just overpowered and one is underpowered.
Right.
So it presents with more balancing difficulties. But let's go into the potions now. We've already set you up for disappointment, so these can only uplift you with how amazingly fun they are. We'll start with the Warlock because they're crazy. Blood Fury Potion is the first potion we'll look at. The Warlocks have 2 rare potions. And one of the other things that's kind of weird is, you know how we got all the cards for the Grammy Goons? Like, basically all the cards. We're missing like 1 or 2.
Yeah, basically.
We're still missing like most of the cards for the Cabal. We've got like half of them. So we don't quite have the same insights onto this as we do for the Grammy Goons, which fits into more, like, this is more of what I expected Blizzard to do. Like, the Grammy Goons, they really just gave us everything. This is more the Blizzard, like, we'll show you half, and then we'll unleash the other half on you, like, 3 days before the expansion launches. Anyway, Blood Fury Potion. 3 mana rare spell. Give a minion +3 attack. So a Blessing of Might. If it's a demon, also give it +3 health.
Yeah. So if it's a demon, you're gonna give it a mana adjusted Blessing of Kings,
Yep.
right? If it's not a demon, you are overpaying for a Blessing of Might.
By triple.
By triple. However, I mean, Blessing of Might is one of the most mana efficient, buffs, right? So, look, is it a great card? No.
No.
But you're gonna draft it sometimes. Like, you're still gonna draft it sometimes, just because, like, it's not like Warlocks have amazing cards. And if you have a good amount of demons in your deck, this becomes better, and it definitely becomes more draftable. It's a card that you'll see in Arena, but you're not going to prioritize this over other cards.
I just don't know how they valued it, right? Like,
Yeah.
it should be 2 mana. Because, we have a card like this. It's called Demon Fire. And so you get a 1 mana effect. It costs 2 mana. But you could turn it into a 2/2 buff if it's a demon. This is like the same thing. Only the effect that you get is 1 mana. And it costs 3 instead of 2.
Right, but they think that if you don't have a demon, there's a safety net, right? Although
The
if
other
you look at
Demon
it,
Fire, there's a safety net too. That's the whole point, right?
Right. I mean, the safety net is like you just deal damage, right?
Right.
Like you don't buff something,
Right.
which I agree. But we have seen this as well. Like, smaller cards are allowed to be a little bit more powerful, and then once you get bigger, I don't know. Look, I'm not saying it's on the same power level as Demon Fire. Demon Fire is obviously better, but I can kind of see them making this and sort of identifying as like, okay, here's the drawback and here's sort of the reward.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I don't want to sugarcoat this. This is a very bad card. This is like one of the worst cards in the entire game of Hearthstone that is not like banned.
I don't think it's that bad. I think for
Would you
the
take
sake,
this or a Wind Fury Harpy?
maybe this.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that's where we're at right now.
Yeah,
Debatable
it's
between
not
a
like
Wind
slam
Fury.
dunk. Like, are you kidding me?
Yeah, no.
But yeah, I mean, I think I would take this still.
Okay. It is less mana, and there is that demon synergy. Okay.
Right,
so,
and it has initiative, so there you go.
yeah. Okay. I mean, you get to see from this kind of card what potions are, which is just that they're like normal stuff. They're just a spell. There is nothing special about a potion. They are literally just a spell with the word potion in its name. So let's look at the next potion, another Warlock potion. This one is a game changer. It is called Fellfire Potion, and it is 6 mana, rare potion, and the text is deal 5 damage to all characters. All
Pretty good.
characters. So it's Mega Hellfire.
Yes, and we saw a similar potion being that's going to be released for this expansion as well.
For the priest.
That the priest has, right?
Yes. So let's go look at that one too, because they kind of go together. And that is the Dragonfire potion, except the priest one is actually epic. but
Yes.
it is similarly a 6 mana card. It's epic, and it deals 5 damage to all minions, not characters this time, minions, except dragons.
Exactly. So we can see now two big potions that you could possibly get, uh, randomly from that card. Um, Two big AoEs, and also since we're talking about the past expansion, remember that the priest also has a small potion, Potion of Madness, where you gain control of an enemy minion with 2 or less attack until end of turn. So keep these
Yes.
potions in mind as we talk about them. But going back to Fellfire Potion, this is obviously a really good card, right? Because any card that sort of changes the way you play against a certain class is going to be very good. This is
Hmm.
why, like, expansions ago, I was sort of screaming from the rooftops about Keeper of Oldemont, right?
Yes.
Like, I was like, oh, this changes the way you play against Paladin. I don't think, this isn't the same effect, but it does change the way you play against Warlocks as well. Because if you had a board lead, you just had to keep some minions above 3 health, and you had to make sure that you didn't give them like a minion in order to Shadow Flame, right?
Yeah, you can't always,
You
you
can't always
usually
do.
can't do that.
Well, so here's the thing. Like you could always get beaten by if they like put down a small minion and then power overwhelming in the Shadow Flame, but that's a 3-card combo, right?
Right.
So what I would sometimes do if I'm like super far ahead and I'm like, all right, well you can't play around Twisting Nether or Doom, but those are like, super super rare. Um, what you can do is you can play around them dropping a minion and then Shadow Flaming. So I'm thinking about if it's like their turn 7, Shadow Flame costs 4. I'm like, it's turn 3, I can expect maybe at max a 4 damage AoE, right? If they have those 2 cards, and that they need a 4 attack 3 mana card in order to do that. So these are the calculations that are going on in my head when I'm facing a Warlock, and now it totally changes because number one card can deal 5 damage to everything. And number two, they're not mana constrained by just dropping minion Shadow Flame anymore. Now they have this big AoE, and they're going to draft a lot of it. And between Fellfire Potion and the common card that they got as well, which I guess we'll talk about pretty soon, Warlocks suddenly have quite a bit of AoE now.
Yep. Yep. So, I mean, Warlocks have always had AoE. It's always been part of their thing, right? They've always had Hellfire. They've always had Shadow Flame. They've always had Dread Inferno. Um, they've always had, they Twisting Nether. Like, this was always part of what the Warlock did. It just blew everything up, right?
Yep.
And it was sadly underutilized, I think, because they just didn't get all that many cards with it. You get like Demon Wrath at a certain point that deals 2 damage to everything, and that was kind of it. You got Doom, but it really makes the Warlock more of a complete class because you want the Warlock to have that like kind of unique, not like unique, but pretty unique character, like semi-unique characteristic, where you get to blow everything up. Because it really helps you play a more control game. And for Warlocks, you're going to be on the board, right? Because being on the board prevents damage from going to the face, which allows you to hero power. Otherwise, you can't really hero power. So in Constructed, you have like 2 kinds of Warlocks, right? You have Zoo, which gets out early with a lot of small stuff, uses your hero power to dig and to draw more stuff, and then you win. And then you have kind of control lock or like hand lock, where you just hero power a lot in the beginning in order to get a really big hand and then do weird stuff with that. But that's a combo deck. Those don't really work in the arena. But what the arena has always lacked was a good, like, a viable way to play control Warlock. And Warlock has always had a theme that should allow you to do stuff like this. So this is like, I know Merps was talking about like, oh, you may have to play around or whatever. No one's gonna play around this thing.
It's really hard to play
It's
around.
5 damage to
Yeah.
all characters. It's rare. Like, you'll see it, especially with the offering bonus, but they're going to be like on average less than 1 per deck of these things, and it's really so bad that it's five health, right? Like, how are you going to consistently place things that's more than 5 health?
Going into the curve, like on turn 6, you're gonna be able to play around it maybe like 5,
maybe.
10% of the time.
Yeah, right.
Maybe.
Like
Yeah.
you can't really play around it if you're like dominating the board against the Warlock. So it really gives the Warlock a way back. This is like the Shadow Flame kind of like issue, right? Where or like Doom or like Twisting Nether. Did you ever seen anyone play around Doom or Twisting Nether?
It's closer to Doom and Twisting. Like I said, you can calculate Shadow Flame, right? Well, not
Kind
like PO
of.
Shadow Flame, but you
No,
can
even
calculate
like
Shadow Flame.
at 7 mana you can deal 4 damage to everything. At 8 mana you can deal 5 damage to everything pretty
Right, right.
easily.
Which is,
Which
first
is
of all,
pretty good.
pretty good, but also situation, 2 cards, and they not only have to have a 3-drop, they have to have like an offensive 3-drop.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
So, that's like really, and with this, it's 1 less mana for 1 more damage, and it's in one
Oh yeah, I mean this is definitely
package.
this
Yeah.
pushes the timer down if you want to counter it, but you never counter it anyway. No one plays around these things, or sometimes they try, but only in certain specific situations. Most of the time, you're just at the mercy of the Warlock player. So I like what it does for the Warlock, and by the same token, I hate what it does. I hate what it does if you're facing the Warlock, because now it's just RNG. Now it's just does the Warlock have this card? If they have this card, they win. If they don't have this card, I have this huge board. They're never going to come back any other way. So it's better, I think, to be playing around one card than to be playing around many cards. So like Flame Strike is a common. Even if you gave it an offering bonus or something like that, right? It would be a more fair match than if you had like light bombs and like excavated evils and like fellfire potions and like dragonfire potions. You can't play around all of them. They all have this equal tiny chance of being in your opponent's hand, but they all add up to be like a pretty good chance he has one of these, right? Like now,
Yep.
if you're asking a Warlock, you have like less than some chance to have Fellfire Potion. You have like less than 50% chance to have Hellfire. You have less than like 25% chance to have Shadow Flame. You have like, I don't know, maybe a 10% chance to have Excavated Evil or Doom, or maybe even less than that. And then there's this new Warlock common card, which we'll talk about next, which also board clears. And you have some chance with that. Then there's like Demon Wrath. You add them all up, the Warlock's going to get at least 2 of these cards in their deck on average. Like 2 board clears per Warlock on average. I'm gonna repeat that because like no other class is doing this, right? Like if you don't count 1 damage things as board clears and you just count things above 1 damage, no other class besides Mage has an average of more than one board clear per deck, and even Mage doesn't. So. Now we're entering the area where I think they're trying to make it so Warlock, Priest, and Mage do have a lot of board clears. So that is their whole thing now. Like, board clears. Okay, so that's Fellfire Potion. Let's talk about the final Warlock card. I'm starting with the Warlock because it's the most interesting reveal. Like, we knew about the Priest before, and the Mage is not terribly interesting. So, the Warlock Game Changer. This is the card that it came out and everyone freaked out, like, instantly. This is like Fireland's Portal levels of freak out when this card was revealed. And it's also 7 mana. So it's called the Abyssal Enforcer. It's 7 mana, 6/6 demon, common, and it has a battle cry that says, deal 3 damage to all other characters. So it's a Hellfire built into a 6/6 demon.
Yep.
And Hellfire is 4 mana, and a 6/6 demon's probably like 5.5 mana. So you may be thinking, wow, for 1.5 mana, I get something worth 4 mana, and another card for that matter. That seems really OP.
Okay. Yeah. So this is the card that Crypt debuted, and everyone immediately sort of freaked out about it. Because let's face it, if you just sort of add up the damage that is put out, right? Because we have a comparable card. It's called Hellfire that costs 4 mana, and then what? You're left with 3 mana, so you get a 3 mana 6/6. That seems pretty good.
Yeah, that's not usually how cards work when you add
It's not
abilities
how
to cards.
work. Right. So let's right off the bat establish that. Is it a good card? Yes.
Yes.
Is it a very good card? Yes. Now, where we differ is sort of how good it is, right? Like how good it is, like is it a super premium card like Flame Strike and Coghammer, and
Right
up
off
in
the
there.
bat, this is not as good as Gang Boss.
Right. So that's sort of what I want to talk about as well, because I definitely agree. Um, there's a reason that they gave it to Warlock instead of giving it to Mage, right? If they gave this card to, first of all, I mean, it's because Mage is already pretty powerful, but you want to look at playstyle. That's very important. These super OP cards, you want to give it to a class that either can't utilize it that well, or because of playstyle or sort of class identity, it goes against sort of what they typically want to do. So it sort of pulls them in another direction, right? Since the beginning of Hearthstone, Warlocks have wanted to get out early,
Yep.
stay on the board, sort of snowball their early lead, and then in the late game tap, right? This is sort of, it gives you that safety net, and you're able to sort of, clear the board. But going into turn 7, you should probably have the board. And if you don't, so the one exception is if you don't have the board and you have this, you can possibly make a comeback, which is part of the reason why it is amazing. But it still goes against sort of the way that Warlocks have been playing up until now. So,
Well, look at it this way. If you're in the position where you want to be playing this, your alternative would be to play Hellfire plus a 3-drop, right? So this gets a few more stats on that. Now, on the downside of having this card in your hand instead of, like, let's say a Hellfire, is that you have 3 turns where you can't play it. And as the Warlock, if you need to clear the board, you need to clear the board. First of all. Otherwise, you're taking face damage, and that's destroying your entire game plan. Like, you can eventually get on the board, and you'll still lose because you can't hero power. Your second problem is that dealing 3 damage to everything, it works a lot better before turn 7. When a lot more things have 3 health. Like, when you're playing this, there will almost never be the case in which it clears the board. It will clear a lot of the board if your opponent is on the board, right? It'll get a couple minions, and it'll, punch way above its weight for what it's doing. But it also hurts you for 3 damage. It hurts your opponent for 3 damage in a way that doesn't really matter. Because your opponent has the board, they're putting the pressure on you. Your life is the one at stake here. And it hurts you, and you need your life. So,
right.
it just, like, every time something deals damage to the Warlock, you have to think about it in terms of card advantage. Dealing 3 damage to your face is like getting rid of 1.5 cards in the long run that you're able to, like, do. And you are going into the long run if you're playing this card. It's a freaking 7 mana card, and your opponent has had the board beforehand. So you need to, like, do this, then get on the board, then build the board, then kill your opponent. Like, you're not winning the next turn. Well, I mean, you could win the next turn if you happen to have, like, gotten them down to 9 already before you ran out of steam. And they have no response. But more likely, like, you're going to kill them over the course of several turns.
Yep. So I do want to remind listeners once again that the only debate we're having is whether it is a super premium card or just a premium card, right? And when we say we'd rather take Imp Gang Boss over this, Imp Gang Boss is the best Warlock card.
Nope.
Sorry, the best Warlock minion right now.
Yep.
Like, it is by far. If we're talking about best Warlock card, ADWCTA and I maybe have a disagreement
It's
here.
totally Doom. It's not even close. It's got to be Doom.
Don't agree with that, but anyways, it's definitely Imp Gang Boss is the best card that it'll go up against.
Fellfire Potion. Better or worse than the Abyssal Enforcer?
I would take the Abyssal Enforcer, I think.
Oh.
Yep.
Ooh. See, that's a difference. I think the board clear aspect is so huge.
The board clear aspect is good, but I'm also assuming that you're going to have at least pieces of the board there.
No, I agree. I would take the Abyssal Enforcer too.
Yeah.
The Fellfire Potion is good, but like I was saying, right? Like if you're in this position, you need to like stop hurting yourself. And the Fellfire Potion hurts you for 5, which is 2 more than the Abyssal Destroyer.
Well, and also dropping even if you don't completely clear the board, you're still dropping a 6/6 as well, and that's pretty freaking good. You know?
Yep.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So it is good, but we're talking like it's gonna end up like, quite honestly, it's gonna end up somewhere around Hellfire. Like, probably not as good as Hellfire, or like a little bit better than Hellfire. I haven't like decided, but like I think it's like around Hellfire level because Hellfire is much more flexible, but this card is like much like bigger and more game changing when you play it like later on.
So personally, I would take it over Hellfire.
Yeah,
Like
I think it's gonna end up over Hellfire, but like
yes.
not by too much. Like it's gonna be like right there.
No, I mean I would put it like just a few points below Imp Gang Boss. I do think it is
A
that
few
good.
points below Gang Boss is just a few points above Hellfire.
Sure, sure. You know, we're arguing about like a couple of points here, right? Like, but it is literally
There is
just like
7 point
1 or 2
difference.
points.
If you're going a few points in one direction, it's the same as going a few points in the other direction.
Sure.
Um,
But like, well, because 7 points is like really, really like that's the range here. A couple of points makes a huge difference, right?
Yep. Okay, so that's the Abyssal Enforcer. This is gonna be a game changer. Like this is a card you're gonna play around. And why I like this card is now if you are not the Warlock and you're facing the Warlock, I was talking about how you can't play around those big things, right? Like those light bombs, those like Fellfire potions, those dooms. You are going to play around Abyssal Enforcer. That is going to happen. And you are going to play around Hellfire, because, like, after turn 7 at least. Because between the Abyssal Enforcer and Hellfire, your opponent's going to have this card in their deck. This is going to be, like, something you play around more so than, like, Flame Strike. Just because they have 2 cards that do the same thing, whereas Flame Strike is only 1 card for the Mage. So even though neither of these are as good as a Flame Strike, they're going to be drafted so often, and there's 2 cards for the offering odds, and the offer, especially if you have an offering bonus on this card, you're definitely going to be playing around it. Like, I don't like to play around cards these days. I still sometimes play around Flame Strike, but I'm definitely going to play around an Abyssal Enforcer. Like, this thing is going to be like dominating the meta when you are facing a Warlock. Like, that's gonna be how you think about things.
Yep.
And we all know with this effect from Flame Strike, right? Like, if it changes the way you think about things, it's really good for the Warlock, even if you don't have this card in your deck, or you're not playing this card.
Yeah, because if you're afraid of, like, the shadow of Abyssal Enforcer and the shadow of Fellfire Potion is always going to be, there, right? Mm-hmm. Like, you're always going to be afraid of it. It's going to be the boogeyman in terms of, whenever you face this class. Just like with Mage, now you're always afraid of Flame Strike, and you're always thinking about Fireland's Portal, right? Going into turn 7.
Exactly. Okay, let's push really quickly through Priest, just to review the Priest cards, because they're also part of the Cabal. But we've seen all these cards before. There's nothing new released for the Priest. The Cabal Talon Priest is 3 mana, 3/4, common, Battlecry, give a friendly minion plus 3 health, OP. Totally overpowered. We went over this. Priest is going to be the best class. Potion of... you know what? I guess we were actually just going over potions. But now that we went to Abyssal Enforcer, which is not a potion. So we might as well go to the one other Warlock release, a revealed card, which is a rare. It's a Sea Devil Stinger, it's a Murloc, it's a 4 mana 4/2. Its Battlecry says the next Murloc you play this turn costs health instead of mana. So it's unplayable in the arena. Let's move on.
It's pretty bad, guys.
It's awful. Like, it's going to instantly be one of the worst cards. Okay, so back to Priest. So that's all the Warlock has, right? Like, we've seen the stuff the Warlock has, a bunch of, like, bad stuff and a bunch of, like, good stuff. It's pretty balanced. So for the Priest, the Cabal Talon Priest with the 3/4 and the Dark Cultist, but with the Battlecry instead of the Death Rattle, that's overpowered. We know that. The potions are also really good, right? Like, Potion of Madness. 1 mana, gain control of an enemy minion with 2 or less attack until end of turn. Should be 2 mana. That should tell you all you need to know about it. 1, it's a board clear. 2, it should be 2 mana. And it's cost 1 mana less. We went over the Dragonfire potion, and then the other potion that Priest has. So Priest has 3 potions, which makes me think that all the classes are going to end up with 3 potions. And it fits with how Hearthstone likes the number 3. So I think there are potions that have not yet been released. Okay, Pint-Sized Potion is the rare potion from the Priest. It is a 1 mana potion. Give all enemy minions -3 attack this turn only. It's okay. That was how we kind of went with it. I don't want to go too deep into this because we've talked about it before. If you want to learn more about the Priest, watch the Lightforge from like 2 weeks back. We really go into how great the Priest is going to be. Draconid Operative, 5 mana, 5/6, rare card. It's a dragon. Battle cry if you're holding a dragon. Discover a card in your opponent's deck. So there's like a free discover, and also like look at 3 cards in your opponent's deck. Like if you have a dragon on a pit fighter body for that cost. Like these are pretty insane cards for the Priest. So those are 2 of the Cabal classes, and they're the ones that we're okay kind of like buffing a bit. And Priest got buffed a lot. Warlocks, depending on how good you think the Abyssal Enforcer is, either got like a crazy buff or like a pretty in line, like, you know, like this is just a card they should get. And let's move on to the Mage. The Mage so far has 2 potions revealed. They are like the Warlock. They are both rare potions. The first one is a Volcanic Potion, which is 3 mana. Deal 2 damage to all minions. Merps.
Look, Mage just got another early game AoE, right? Am I really happy about it? No. At the same time, you know, I don't think this is going to break the arena, but it is really annoying. I wish that they wouldn't give mages early game AoEs because I don't think mages should get them. You shouldn't get both early game AoE and also late game AoE.
Arcane Explosion was always part of its kit.
Yeah, Arcane Explosion, but you know, huge difference between 1 and 2, right?
Yeah, this means on turn 5 they can get rid of like anything up to 3 health with a ping.
Right, and Volcanic Potion. What's really good about it is lots of times mages don't have that many minions, right? Unlike the Warlock, they don't have to try to rush onto the board, and in fact the most powerful mage decks are just grind removal attrition mage decks, right, that have all the value mage cards, and then suddenly it's on turn 9, they have 5 cards, you have 0 cards, and then they just win. So this definitely helps play into that style. It's definitely going to help them out. It is a very good card. Not that hard to evaluate, I think.
Yep, it's a good card. What I like about it though is that it's not like they're not putting so many cards that mages are going to get into like this new archetype where they get so much value from being off the board, and then, you know, because there's a way you can do this, right? If I have like 7 class cards that are like deal X damage to all minions, I could just play like a bunch of really crappy minions. Like I could draft a deck full of like Loot Hoarders and like Tomb Spiders and just be like, yeah, go ahead, eat all these. Now all your minions are going to be 2 health. And I'm going to flip the board on you, and I'm not going to lose any cards in the process. They can't do that right now, but whenever you give one of these cards to the Mage, it gets really dangerous. It gets really dangerous because they are the class that has the Hero Power Ping. And so the Hero Power Ping makes it 1 more health more difficult to play around these board clears. Which it's a problem. Like the Warlock and the Priest, you say deal 5 damage, it deals 5 damage. That's it. But for the Mage, you say deal 2 damage. No, you're really dealing 3 damage. You have the option to deal 3 damage always. So it gives you a lot of flexibility. But you see a theme for these potions, right? They're just like blow everything up, right? The Priest has 3 other potions, 2 of which are board clears, 1 of which it helps you board clear when you have the board. Right, and preserve your minions. So it's still like affecting a lot of things. They're like the idea of the potions is that they're unstable and they like affect everything. You can't really control it. For the Warlocks, you have your Fellfire potion, which does the same thing, and then you have a Blood Fury potion, which I don't know what they were thinking. And for the Mage, this Volcanic potion kind of fits that whole entire trend. Before we're going to break the trend, and we get to the Potion of Polymorph, 3 mana secret. Rare secret. After your opponents play a minion, transform it into a 1/1 sheep.
Yep. So, it's funny because now we have a mage secret that the other 2 classes can presumably get access to. So whenever you see that Warlock or Priest play a secret, unless they reveal, you know, another potion secret
Hey,
for
priest can thought
mage.
steal.
Yeah, yeah, who knows? But I think you can presume the next minion you're going to play is going to be a 1/1 sheep.
Hmm.
Anyways, so potion of polymorph, after your opponent plays a minion, transform it into a 1/1 sheep. This seems kind of similar to Mirror Entity,
Very
right?
similar to Mirror. It punishes the
Very
same
similar.
thing, playing a big thing.
Right. And what happens with Mirror Entity is whatever you play, they copy. So you sort of just balance out,
Yep.
right? It's sort of, and with Mirror Entity, there's definitely sort of, sometimes it could be better for you because, you can keep your minion and then like you have stuff to trade into it, right?
Hmm.
Or, you can keep your minion and then remove their stuff and then sort of keep the pressure on. Sometimes this could be much better, right? Because if you put down big minion, you don't have a way to remove it. You're afraid of them removing your minion afterwards and going face, right? Um,
Hmm.
so there's some good, there's some bad. The important thing is whenever there's a new secret that comes out, the first question you should ask, does it change the way that I play around secrets? And the answer is
No.
no. So,
It's to me, it's like a mirror entity, except you get a sheep.
yep,
So
essentially.
it's worse than a mirror entity. And it can actually be like totally broken. Like if you play a 1/1 minion, you like just turn your like novice engineer into a sheep, which is a beast. Um, like it's a pretty crappy card. And it triggers on the same things, and it's going to trigger very early because you're going to play a minion at some point in the arena, which means it's not even very secrety. So
No.
it's bad. Let's just leave it at that. It's bad. I was gonna make a sheep pun. I
I heard
you
sort
saw it
of,
coming and you saw me pull it
yeah,
back.
yeah, good.
Um, I'm tired. We both need sleep. Okay.
Moving on.
Okay. There's more. There's more where this comes from though. So far from the mage, you have a pretty powerful board clear. And you have a totally worthless secret. What's the other rare card? One more rare card has been revealed for the mage. It's Cabal Crystal Runner, which is a 6 mana 5/5, costs 2 less for each secret you've played this game. Which means for it to be good, you need to have already played a secret this game. You are going to draft, on average, 0.5 secrets per deck for as the mage. That should tell you
Yes.
all you need to know about this card.
So, we have seen another card that also interacts with secrets, right? A one drop for the mage. What was its name again?
This is the common one drop, the only common card revealed for the mage. So with the Warlock, the only common card revealed was the Abyssal whatever guy, right? The huge 7 mana demon. And one thing also to mention is that card also makes Void Caller better. Void Caller's been getting less and less powerful through like the last 2 expansions because they just haven't released large demons. But that's a solid 6/6 demon that you can call out. But yeah, so the 1 mana Mage common is a Cabal Lackey. It's a 1 mana 2/1, and its battle cry is the next secret you play this turn costs 0 mana.
Right. So, we haven't talked about this card either, right?
No.
So I think it's appropriate that we talk about both of them together.
Okay.
Yeah. So mages have two cards now that interact and synergize with secrets, which is, I guess, a little bit better for Arena. And we saw it with Medivh's Valet in the previous expansion.
And
Because
also
Mage,
the Hunter one.
yeah, yeah. Mage secrets are not good. Mage secrets are. It's not even like, uh, let's say the Hunter class in which there is one really, really good secret
Yep.
and lots of pretty bad secrets.
Yep.
There is no good Mage secret essentially, as you can see from the tier list. So having cards that synergize with secrets, it definitely tilts it in a way that makes you want to pick it. Now, are these good cards? Let's look at Cabal Lackey first. It's a common card. It's the one that you're going to encounter more often. Not
No.
really.
It's a 1 mana 2/1.
Right. And I saw on the on Reddit and on the forums, like some people think that this card is really good because if you just think about it in a way that it costs 1 mana and you get 3 mana for free, that's really good, right? But if you really think about it, it's a 1 mana 2/1. There's always a penalty for being a small card, and it
What secrets do you want to play on turn 1?
none.
Like,
You don't want to play any secrets on turn one.
Yeah. They're
Yeah.
not good. Like, your secrets, all the mage secrets, this is not like, here's the difference between like hunter and mage secrets, if you're wondering, right? Like, hunter secrets give you a stuff. It like does a thing. Snipe, rip, deals 4 damage. The panther one gives you a panther. The bear one gives you a bear. They like all do something. And you know what the thing is. The mage's secrets, they're all relative. Counter your spell. Copy your minion. Create another minion on my board based on the minion that you removed. Right? Destroy the minion you used to attack face.
Right.
The only one that is like actually substantive is ice armor. Like ice barrier. That's the only one in which you get something and you know what you're getting. So if everything's relative, you can't play it early. You just get way less value for it. And if you're looking at it as playing it late, sure, you can get like a tempo boost if you just hold on to this card for a while, and then you can like use it as like a weird like innervate onto your secret. Like, why, right? It's like a combo innervate that then drops a 2-1 in the late game, which is not good. Like, what are you doing with this card?
Right. So here's something that people talked about, and I actually see it in our chat right now as well, and I will talk about it. Here's something important that I think we need to address. So what I saw as well, people were like, oh, it's going to be really good in Arena because you're going to play this on turn one, you're going to play a secret, and even if it's mirror, it's it's okay, you get a minion, but think about if you play this and then you play secret, and then in turn 2 you play Medivh's Valet, how game winning is that?
Yes,
I will tell you this. I agree with you.
3-card combos on turns 1-2 are really game winning.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah. So my argument is like, if you're gonna set up a 3-card combo and say, look how powerful this three-card combo
Very
is,
specific too.
I'm gonna tell you, that's really bad in terms of a 3-card combo.
Yes.
Like, 3-card combos should be amazing, and there are some absolutely ridiculous 3-card combos in Hearthstone. This is not overpowered for a 3-card combo,
No.
right? And here's the thing: other combos also have the potential of just being very good on their own, right? Let's look at how good these cards are on their own. Medivh's Valet is just a normal 2-drop. Cabal Lackey, it's a 1-mana 2/1 unless you are playing a secret on the same turn. That's really, really bad.
Yep.
Secret, played without those things, is not good either. So you have 3 things that are independently not good to mediocre.
Mm-hmm.
And in combination, if you draft all of them, you have to have the faith to draft all of them. Get them all on your mulligan, and then play all of them on turn 1/2. Yes, congratulations. You pulled off a semi-powerful combo, a semi-powerful 3-card combo, and you're probably going to lose your other games because your cards are so
This
weak.
is
Like, go on.
I just mean, this is bad. There's a reason this is the only common mage card Blizzard released. Because Blizzard's like, hey, look, remember how, we kept printing really overpowered mage cards and you guys are getting really angry about it? Here, community, here. This is not an overpowered card. Look at it. We're good, right? We're good. It's not supposed to be a good card, and it's not a good card. And so, I'm happy that it's not a good card, and there's 2 more cards that we hope will be equally bad. It really would not break anyone's hearts if for one cycle, like for one meta, Mage is not top 3. Like, it wouldn't. It would not, destroy anyone's hopes and dreams.
People are hoping for it. People are hoping to see Mage get knocked down a peg.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, and I think Blizzard's going to try their best to create interesting cards that'll do it. Yeah, so Cabal Crystal Runner is not even playable. The Cabal Lackey's playable. It's just a 1-drop with an extra thing. And its extra thing is a small extra thing. But just see, if you see, where are 1-drops? Where's where do we put the Murloc Raider? I don't even remember the exact number for it. Cavaldi.
I don't remember. So when we're talking about Cabal Crystal Runner,
there we go. Murloc Raider's a 42. Is it undraftable? No, it's War Golem. So it's a little better than that. You're gonna take it sometimes. You're going to have sometimes you just don't have the good options. But yeah, I like the direction Blizzard is going with the crappy mage stuff.
Right. So I don't know if Cabal Crystal Runner is unplayable because look, even in the situations where we play 6 mana 5/5,
Okay, okay.
mages can pull it off.
Unplayable,
Like
yeah.
mages can pull it off. All right.
Yeah.
If you are actually saying it is unplayable, I will disagree
Okay,
with you
it's
on
not
that.
like unplayable,
Yes.
unplayable, but it is like bottom of the tier list.
I don't even know if it's bottom of the tier list like this, but
Would you
I would
take it
say
or a
this is
Stone
not a
Tusk
good card.
Boar?
In a mage, yes.
You would take that over a Stone Tusk Boar?
Yep, I would. I definitely would.
Okay.
So, once again, we don't have exact numbers here, but we're you can sort of get a sense of how we feel about this card. It is not a great card. Now, obviously, in constructed, I don't know what ramifications there are with this card. I don't know if you can make Secret Mage and make it viable. But in arena, a lot of times this will be just 6 mana 5/5, and in the late game, if you are able to power out a 4 mana 5/5, congratulations.
To what Merp says, I think he's right. Like for example, a Dread Corsair is a 4 mana 3/3 taunt, which is just like frankly like 1 mana overpower, like overcosted compared to compared to really like a really bad card. Well, not a really bad card, but like a below average card, which is the Bear. So Cabal Crystal Runner is 1 mana overpowered compared to a bad card, which is a 5 mana 5/5, but like a below average card, right? 5 mana 5/5, maybe 5 mana 5/5 may even be average, but 5 mana 5/5 to the extent that it's average is because of its curve considerations. Anyway, and Dread Corsair is a 40,
Yeah,
whereas Stone Tusk Board is a 33. So there is something to be said for just like getting a big card out there.
yeah. And look, like I said, for Mage, a lot of times because they're playing the removal game, right? They
Hmm.
don't have to be mana because if we're thinking about the late game, you don't have to be mana efficient
Yep,
anymore.
yep, it's true.
Basically it.
It's
Yep.
true, and we'll talk about that later. But to give you like, this is how you know Blizzard cares about the arena now when it comes to the mage. Their epic card is a 3 mana 3/4. So Blizzard looked at it and said, "Hey, this card could be good in arena. Let's make it epic." Battle Cry: choose a friendly minion, shuffle a copy into your deck. So not a terribly useful battle cry, but still, just the fact that it has a body like that makes it very powerful in the arena as a spider tank. And
Yeah.
so Blizzard just said nope on that, made it epic. Could have made it rare, but chose to make it epic. So it's little things like this that we appreciate.
Yeah, I mean, this also fits their definition of an epic card, right? Epic cards are always these like weird, tricky, sort of like
Kind
tech
of, but putting
cards.
stuff into your deck, like you have like what do you call it, like the priest one, Entomb, or like they're rare usually. Like that card is normally a rare card, I think, in terms
Well,
of
no,
how complicated it is.
I mean, Entomb is sure. This is a little bit different though, because this is like you messing with your own deck, right? Like you trying to like do something like tricky with your own deck in terms of I don't know
Gang
what
up is
constructed combos there
common,
are.
I think.
Sure, it is.
Like these are like the mechanic of putting stuff into your deck is
I mean,
not
we're
a
talking from like really different classes here.
right, but like still the mechanic
It's
itself
not.
is not what Blizzard considers
No,
to
no, no, no.
be.
It's not. It's not just the mechanic. I'm saying like if you look at epic cards, they tend to all be a little bit tricky, right? They tend to be like whatever. I'm not saying like if
Yeah,
it is adding something to your deck, it has to be epic.
right. But what I'm saying is this level of trickiness it exists already, and Blizzard has rated it a rare and sometimes a common.
Well, no, I mean trickiness isn't all on the same level. Like it's just epic cards should be tricky. I think that is their standard. That's it. It's not like this this action X is trickier than all others, so we have to put it in epic. While less quote tricky cards are rare or common. So I totally understand them putting this card in. Like it is sort of a card that messes with your deck. It's sort of a tech card. So you just put it as epic. Makes sense.
Okay, I just the way I view game design is you have a mechanic, and to whatever complexity it is, you kind of stay vaguely consistent with it.
You should
Um,
try, but with Hearthstone and 9 different classes, you kind of can't.
right, but what I mean is
Yeah.
you should try to make it a rare, and they've made it an epic for reasons, right? Like that's what I'm
Yeah,
saying.
yeah.
Like if you were just designing this with no consideration for the arena, this would be a rare. Like I fully believe that this would be a rare, and one of these other cards would be an epic. Um, I don't know which one would be an epic. Probably like a Cabal Crystal Runner, or maybe the Potion of Polymorph. But I would think that those are more complicated to use and more complicated to think about. Anyway, that's it for like the new class cards that are revealed. They also revealed some new neutral cards. I don't really want to like talk about any of the ones like too much. They're not like terribly interesting, but suffice to say, like they're not curve cards, right? Like none of the ones like this is a fun one that they released. It's called a Backstreet Leopard. It's a 3-mana common neutral, and it's a 3/1, and it has a death rattle, deal 2 damage to the enemy hero. So it's a Leper Gnome where for 2 more mana you get 2 more attack on a 1 health minion. Like it's like totally worthless.
So I think this card is actually going to be decent.
What?
Yeah, wait. So let me explain everything before I.
Oh my god. Okay.
So it's 3 mana, and you get 3/1 body, which is offensively based, right? And putting that together with the package.
No, it's
of
not
the
offensively
Death
based for 3
Rattle,
mana.
no. Putting that together with the package of the Death Rider, which is deal 2 damage to the enemy hero, which is pretty good. And ultimately, the package all comes together when you play it. When you play it and you're able to sing Backstreet's Back All Right and then totally meme the hell out of this game, it's a terrible card. I can't.
Okay, I was like, what are you talking about? You're not that dumb.
No. The first thing I saw when I looked at this, I was like, okay. For some reason, it reminds me of the Backstreet Boys, and we're gonna go with that.
In a weird costume, and he's in like this like epic pose trying to do something.
That you actually nailed it! Congratulations! You must have thought of the same thing.
You should look at it if you have it. If you're listening to this on the podcast, look up the card. It really does kind of reminds you of like someone in like a boy band. The pose, the actual guy itself is like really ugly. All right, so that's the Backstreet Leper. They're the interesting card, and I want to segue this into how this expansion is going to affect the overall meta, right? Because we keep talking about these like factions and these like gangs and these like class cards and all this good stuff, and yes, they affect the meta. But generally speaking, unless you get something to the level of like Fireland's Portal good in a class everyone plays, like Mage, or like what do you call that? Keeper of Uldaman level good and game changingness in a class everyone plays, like the Paladin, which at that time was a class much more actually more played than Mage, I think. That's when you get like one card that dominates the meta, and those things usually happen in adventures. In these like big release sets, especially with an offering bonus, what usually happens is whatever theme they're going for imposes itself on the meta, and whatever cards that they're like putting out, it really shifts everybody, and it shifts everybody not because of any particular class card, but because of the neutral cards, because of whether there's enough 2-drops or enough 4-drops or enough 5-drops. Because when you have an offering bonus on like 150 cards, it really affects everything on a very big meta picture that an expansion, adventure expansion doesn't. So you could look at the Warlock card and say like, oh, that's going to change the way I play against Warlocks, and that's true. But the big picture changes are going to come from some common card. And again, we said this last time, and still today, we haven't seen a game-changing common card that's good enough that we would consider game-changing, right? No Bog Creepers, no Piloted Shredders, no like Zombie Childs, nothing like that. But what we have seen is kind of a lack of drops. Like all the common cards released, and like right now, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. We have 12 common neutrals released already, like revealed. That's a lot of common neutrals. I don't know how many there are total, but there's only one more slot for it on this chart I'm looking at on Reddit. So I think that's based off of OG. So we may not be getting any more like common neutral cards, except like one. And there just hasn't been a game-changing card in these common slots. And there's going to be less common cards than there usually are because the tri-cards are taking some of the common slots. But one thing that I have noticed is that you get 1 2-drop in the Friendly Bartender, which is a 2/3 heal your face for 1 at the end of every turn. But you have already gotten I'm gonna mess up. A Hired Gun, which is a 3-mana 4/3 taunt, and now you are also getting another 3-mana 4/3 common called the Toxic Sewer Ooze, which has a battle cry that says remove 1 durability from your opponent's weapon. So it's like the infested version of the Acidic Swamp Ooze. They liked the infested mechanic so much from OG that they decided to bring it back, but luckily they didn't give this tentacles.
It's more like a bigger Bloodsail Corsair, right?
Yeah.
It's like,
A bigger Bloodsail Corsair. So now, in this expansion, where they're not giving you any curve cards, they are making sure that the 3-drop curve is relatively healthy compared to the other curves, and that the way they're shifting it is to 4/3s. Now, think about how many 4/3s are in the meta now. You have Toxic Sewer Ooze, totally playable, right? We know how good Acidic Swamp Ooze is. This will be a little tiny bit less good. I mean, it's not even like a tiny bit less good. It's actually going to be better, I think. Just because 3 drops are more valuable than 2 drops. Until they shift it, I don't know. We'll calculate all this in a bit. And then you have the Hired Gun, the 4/3 taunt, which is definitely good because you always want to taunt. And then you have your whole other number of 4/3 cards, right? They released the guy that makes you immune. What do you call that guy?
What, Violent Illusionist?
Violent Illusionist. They released that in the last expansion, and then you have your existing 4/3s, like, I don't know, Injured Blade Master. Anything else you can think of? I'm like blanking right now, but there's definitely more. There's like a lot of 4/3s. Is kind of my point.
There are a lot of them. Yes.
And how many 3/4s are there?
You have Spider Tank.
Light's Champion's another 4/3.
Yep.
But yeah, but so those are your 4/3s. I just named like a whole bunch of common and rare 4/3s. Spider Tank is your 3/4. What other 3/4s are there in this game?
Other than class cards,
Yeah.
I don't know if we have
Nothing.
any. Yeah.
Nothing. There are no 3/4s in this game. 3/4s are only class cards. And yes, Priest is going to get another 3/4. Like, Mages have a class 3/4. Like, almost all the classes right now have a class 3/4, which kind of, like, locks it down a little bit. But class cards are only double the offering rates of regular cards. And right now, 4/3s are being offered way more often just on the neutral slot. And this is especially true once you get the offering bonus to the new cards, right? To the new class expansions. So you're going to be seeing a lot of 3/4s and not a lot of 4/3s and not a lot of 3/4s. And that's like a weird thing for the meta to do.
It is.
You always see more like 4/5s than 5/4s or like whatever, right? But like the offering odds are going to be so tilted. And that's going to drive up the value of 3/2s. Because that's the one that counters the 4/3s. And 3/2s are already pretty much equal to 2/3s.
Right. So this is a little bit of a history lesson for you guys. In Classic, where we didn't have that many cards, you always drafted 3/2s because they always countered the 3-drop, which was always either a 4/3 or a 3/3. And what happened after that
like back then, Raptor was almost unanimously agreed to be like a tier above Croc.
Yes. Croc was pretty much useless because no one played 1-drops as well back then. So, and then because of that, because there were only 3/3s or 4/3s, people drafted 4/3s, and then what ended up happening was, you don't take 5/4s, right, on turn 4.
Yep.
You have to take the Yeti because you don't want to trade down. So these are sort of the things that, the domino effect that happens when what cards are available in a certain turn. Now, is it going to move back to the Classic? No, probably not, just because of
we have a lot of diversity at 3 meta right now. Like, it's not just 3/4s or 4/3s. You have like 4/4s and like
right. But these are things that you want to take into consideration, right? Like, even when we saw Potion of Madness, we're like, well, if only Potion of Madness were introduced, and let's say Priest shoots up to the top of the class list, which is not crazy.
Mm-hmm.
I think they're going to be.
I'm predicting that they're going to be number 1.
Yeah, I
not
think
in terms of usage, not in terms
Right.
of like. Actually, maybe I don't know how hard it is to play Priest, but like, it's gonna be like actually like if you look at top level plays, I think it's gonna be the best class.
Sure, and I think undeniably Priest will be top 3 at least. I would be I would bet a good amount of money on that. But if you look at something like that and you just saw the Potion of Madness, right? You would say, oh, because you're taking a something with 2 attack, you don't want 3/2s, right? Because especially if you have the neutral 1 mana 2/2 minion now, that's a 1 mana 2 for 1 right there. So if
That's you have named literally the only other common card that is a
sure.
drop in this entire expansion.
Right, no,
Like,
no, no.
it's
I'm
crazy.
saying that like if something
Yeah, no,
becomes
I agree
so
with your
prevalent,
point.
no, it's the concept. I'm not saying this is actually going to happen.
I know. I'm just
Yeah,
I'm just reiterating an earlier point that we're making, that this is going to be a very anti-curve
Oh
expansion.
yeah. This won't actually like be at like this won't actually like shape the meta, guys. But if this happens and then suddenly people are like, oh no, then I need to draft like around that, right? Like, and what happens in the early turns shapes exactly what happens in the later turns as well. So that would have a domino effect. And we might see something smaller than what we saw in Classic in the upcoming expansion.
Yeah. Like right now, it's actually very balanced. Like all your like 2/3, 3/2, 4/3, 3/4, 4/5, 5/4 is like it's as balanced as it's ever been. And this meta may shift it back. So we'll see. One card that will actually have a pretty big impact in the arena, we should just like mention it, is Bomb Squad, 5 mana 2/2 rare. Battlecry, deal 5 damage to an enemy minion. Not a random enemy minion. To an enemy minion. Oh, wow. I had not thought about this card. Like, I read random minion. But it's apparently just any minion? At least that's what
it's any minion.
It's
yeah,
any
yeah.
minion.
You get
Oh my god, you get to target a minion? Oh my god. Wow, okay, so I totally misread this card when it was revealed.
Congratulations.
So it's a 5 mana, deal 5 damage to any to any enemy minion that you select, and it puts a 2/2 body on the board. And when the 2/2 body dies, you lose 5 health.
Yes.
Holy crap, this is insane.
It is a very good card.
This is literally like a legit removal.
Yeah.
Neutral.
It's a neutral removal, which is really strange, right? Like
Yeah.
really, really weird. Yes. But yeah, it is quite good.
Wow, okay. So I'm trying to
Good job reading, man.
Yeah, I'm not very good at that. I think this is like the best. Yeah, I think this is the best neutral card we've seen, probably, right?
Oh yeah, I agree.
By far, right? Like, it's not even close.
I do like what Blizzard is doing these days in terms of having cards that heal your face and also having cards that sort of deal damage to your face, right?
Right.
They are sort of bridging the gap between classes that use health as a resource and classes that don't use health as a resource. Now they're saying, like, look, mages and priests and whatever, like, you guys can use your health as a resource now, because without weapons and without the sort of warlock shenanigans with health, those classes were not tapping into a resource.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Yeah, and like cards like this allow you to use that. And now that there are so many cards that potentially deal damage to your face and heal face, like that's something you actually consider now. You don't just consider it when you have like 6 weapons as a warrior on pick 20. You're like,
and they're good
well,
cards, like Ancient Shade. Like, we've always been championing Ancient Shade as like better than Bird. Better than a Lost Hall Strider. So they're like cards you pick. So breaking news here. This is
I see. Yes.
Breaking news here. As we're recording the Lightforge, Blizzard just dropped one more priest card on us, and it's fitting the theme of what we're talking about, so let's go with it. It's an epic card. It's not going to affect Arena that much, but it's a 2 mana 2/3, priest and curve. And this is like, I guess, weird enough that they didn't make it a common, because this would be a really good, like, if this was a common, like, priest is gone. Like, priest is by far the best class.
No, there's no way. This on turn 2. And the what was it? I forgot the name of that ridiculous 3-drop. Cabal Talon Priest, is it?
Yeah, Cabal Talon Priest.
Yeah, Cabal Talon Priest on 3, and then you can
Mana
heal.
Geode on turn 2. Oh god. Yeah. Okay, so Mana Geode, for those of you listening to the podcast, you know, you have no idea what we're freaking out about. The text is, whenever this minion is healed, summon a 2/2 crystal.
Yep.
You get a free 2/2.
Yeah.
Whenever this is healed.
Yeah.
Like, this is to the levels of what do you call it? Northshire Cleric in terms of value. Like a 2/2 on the board is about like equal to a card. Like about.
Right, because a 2/2 gets on the board immediately.
Yeah, like you don't have to pay the mana, but even though it's smaller than a card. And it's equally as difficult to get hurt as a Northshire Cleric. But I guess the difference is Northshire Cleric can heal any minion. This, you have to heal this particular minion, which actually makes it more difficult to pull off. But it is also like Northshire Cleric, it's also a drop for the curve. So this is just pure bonus. Wow. This is very good. This is a very good card.
Very good. Yeah, very good.
Okay, well, Priest just got a little bit better. It's just an epic card, no big deal.
Right. But if you see this as a card, it's a decent chance you're going to draft it.
Yep. Okay, so, going back to Bomb Squad, the problem with it is that it is rare. Like, this would be a game-changing card if it was common, right? Like, this would be the Bog Creeper of this meta, and it would make sense, because this meta seems to be a lot about removals, at least for one of the factions. So, yeah. So, overall, in the design of the game, what's happening is Blizzard has really put a circle around the Cabal classes, Mage, Priest, and Warlock, and said, you guys are going to mass remove stuff. Like, basically. Better than anyone else. And it makes sense. And I'm on board with that. Because right now, your classes that can, like, play a more control style is just Mage and Rogue. If you can add Priest to that and Warlock to that, that'll be more diversity.
Yep.
All right.
I'm excited, man. We've never seen Priest in the top half of any meta, right?
No, we haven't.
And we're about to see them be top 3.
Yep. Wow.
Excellent.
I
don't think people are gonna like this. Like,
people are gonna hate it. I'm gonna hate it.
Priests, the only reason people complain is because priests are really weak.
Mm.
Priests have the ability to be far more oppressive than mages.
Yes. Because you just get on the board, you never get off. Your opponent can't do anything. There's no counterplay. Okay. And it's just really frustrating because the games also last forever. So you just get tortured longer before you die.
I mean, you always have the concede option. That's probably your best play at that point.
Oh, man. Concede against Priest. That's going to be the new OP play. Okay. So that's it for our card reviews for this week. Looking forward to next week. The question now, question from the GOAT. We'll do. Do you have a question from the GOAT? Can I do a question?
I do.
You do? Okay. Okay. Go for it.
I do.
Mm-hmm.
This is a question that is very appropriate. We asked the same thing last year, but we're very close to Thanksgiving.
Yes.
It is coming up. So, ADWCTA, what are you thankful for this year in terms of Hearthstone?
I think obviously I'm thankful that Blizzard is doing stuff in the arena, like actively doing stuff, like taking cards out of the arena, like talking about how cards affect the arena. Like this is all great stuff. Last year around this time we knew about some of the Warrior cards coming in, and that was like the first time Blizzard did anything for the arena in like a year and a half. But after that it was kind of like they released new cards and they thought about it a little maybe. But now they're actually like talking about it. They're actually communicating. They're actually releasing stuff. They have followed through on their balancing arena thing with, bringing one class up in each expansion, which is fine. And we have, I really think right now, the, post-Karazhan meta, after the Karazhan bonus went away, it's the best arena meta that has ever existed.
Yeah, I agree. I think the arena is in a very healthy spot. It's quite fun right now.
Mm-hmm.
And it's been really refreshing. It's given me a lot of hope seeing Blizzard do all these things about the arena, right? And we both spoke with Ixar at BlizzCon as well, and he basically, it really showed that they were thinking of arena and thinking about the future of arena. So I'm very thankful for everything that the Blizzard team has been doing, and really looking forward to next year. I think next year will be a big year for the arena.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just happy with things the way they are right now, and I hope, because they have to keep releasing new cards. I hope it doesn't go back to the Karazhan thing, because I'm looking at it right now, and this is great, but it really was only a month and a half ago when things were pretty bad. When it was in the Karazhan meta, we were all looking around RNG is kind of high. This whole meta is based around Firelands portals. It's kind of weird. Crit made that video that was like, what the heck is going on? So it's not like Blizzard's not going to make missteps, but they fixed it really, really, really fast, which is a very good sign. Because when you make a whole bunch of cards and you have to like do stuff with the meta, you're going to mess up. Like, Arena's pretty predictable compared to constructed metas, but people will have different opinions, and whether Blizzard is able to just like see how all the pieces work together at the highest level is like, I still question that. But if they just fix it in like 2 weeks, even if they like mess up and make the meta the new Firelands Portal meta, like, that's fine. It's very different than their old model, which is, well, if things are bad, let's wait 4 months and use the next expansion to fix it. So that's the thing that I think I am most thankful for, is that they've shown a willingness to like fix things immediately.
Yep. All right.
So, okay, question from the GOAT, brought to you by our patrons, patreon.com/grinninggoat. Thank you guys so much for contributing. It really means a lot to us, and it keeps the podcast going, and it keeps the GOAT fed. We will, like, once again, we'll actually do a card-by-card review with the tier scores sometime before the release of the expansion. And that'll be on video, not on the Lightforge. And that'll be really fun. And we urge you all to check it out. And we'll announce it on the Lightforge after we release those videos. So you'll get more detailed rundowns of these cards than we're talking about right now. And you'll get, like, applicability rundowns. Like, we talk a lot about design on the Lightforge right now to get you, like, thinking about the arena. We'll talk about, like, specifics, matchups and things like that in those videos. So that's coming up. And we normally do a class talk at the end of this, but we're kind of getting long on time, and the class is Shaman, and there's not much to be said about the Shaman right now, I think. Like, it was super strong when they had super strong cards, and now it's, like, normal. Is there anything else going on with the Shaman?
Nope, that's it. See you guys next week. Bam.
Okay, not see you guys next week, because we're actually going to end on a different note. Even if we're not going to talk about the Shaman, we are going to end on what's going to happen next week. Because what is going to happen next week is most likely we're going to see the Jade whatever ring. What do you call them? The Jade Lotus, I think, right? Lotus. The Jade Lotus, which is the third and final gang. And it is the gang of the Rogue, the Shaman, huh? We linked it back to the Shaman, and the Druid. So if you're wondering what direction, like, very obviously, these gangs have a lot of impact on what direction these classes are going in this expansion. So what is Jade? Is a question that people have been asking a lot about. Merps predicted potions. Do you want to take a stab at what Jade is going to be?
Something to do with these red mana crystals that they keep on hinting about. We've seen mana crystals since forever, right?
Yep.
And I mean, people pointed out that it's probably mana manipulation of some sort.
Because these are the classes that all do mana manipulation, right?
Yes.
Rogues have coin, yes. Shaman has overload, Druid has ramp.
Yeah. So it's definitely going to be some mana manipulation of some sort. As for the red crystals or the red mana, I don't know exactly what it is. I'm hoping that it is something to do with sort of like mana investment. You spend mana one turn, you get mana, or you get something not the next turn or even this turn, right? Mm-hmm. And then it sort of staggers. But who knows? I'm just looking forward to it.
Yeah. Mana manipulation is always, I think, the most interesting thing that you can do. And it's also difficult to make mana manipulation cards actually good, because they have such like potential to be overpowered and combo out weird stuff that you kind of have to make them a little weaker. So they're never that powerful in the arena. Your mana manipulation cards have to be like either extremely basic, like Innervate, or like have an alternate use, like Wall Growth, which in the arena most of the time is just used to cycle a card. To be a very good. Otherwise, you get into like overpower situations where Blizzard doesn't want to print another Darnassus Aspirant, right? Like that's just one of the things they don't want to do. So
no, it definitely doesn't.
On this note, before we end this, we're gonna one card from the Jade set has been revealed so far, And it's a common druid card, so this is actually going to affect the arena, but we don't know how. Because the card is 3 mana, Jade Blossom. It's a spell, gain an empty mana crystal, like Wild Growth, and also summon a Jade Golem. But no one knows what a Jade Golem is, because it was apparently like released earlier than it should be in some like Chinese website, and then they took it down. So no one actually knows what the Jade Golem is, and no one's talking about it. We'll find out next week. Could be interesting, but that's just for the sake of completeness. I felt like mentioning it and getting you guys hyped about the Jade classes. This is going to be the last mechanic of Karazhan, and so far, of MSG, and so far I think MSG has delivered on like interesting stuff. Way more interesting than OG. Like at this point of the OG reveal, I was like, ugh, this is gonna suck. Like until I saw Cyclotron and Bog Creeper revealed in the data dump, I was like, this is gonna be the worst expansion for Arena ever. But now we already have plenty of stuff to play with in this expansion.
This has been something we've been waiting for an entire year.
Yeah.
An actual expansion with new mechanics, with something that really changes the way that you think about the arena, right? And this is almost like we're getting 3 mini expansions in one, which is really exciting. As ADWCTA said, OG and Karazhan. OG was really about releasing standard, right? And the gods, which we don't care about standard because we're arena. We don't care about gods because we're arena. And then Karazhan, that's an adventure, so its impact is always going to be very small. And obviously,
its impact was huge.
Well, no. I'm saying mechanically.
Yeah, mechanically, its impact was small. Yeah. Well, Discover. It sometimes happens, but usually it's like folk. It was like what? It was like Discover, and before that, it was like Dragons. Like there was no Dragon synergy until BRM, and then Max was about Death Rattles, which is more like
Widow impact. Yeah. Like every expansion is going to have a huge impact, right? That's just the way it is. So when I say little impact, I mean actually adding something to the game.
Yeah.
Nope. So the impact is always going to be felt, but as for whether it adds anything to the game, which for people who play a lot of arena really matters, this should
good.
Really satisfy.
Yeah. Like this is going to be like this is the best. Like without seeing the rest of the cards, this is already the best expansion that we have had since TGT. Yeah,
TGT was the last one.
Yep. So it's exciting times to be an arena player. All right. That's it for this week. We'll see you guys next week. Until then, and there will be a Lightforge next week. We know it's Thanksgiving, but we'll haul our butts back to our apartments in time to do the Lightforge and release it on time. A live one, so we can get all the cards. Until then, this is ADWCTA.
This is Merps. See ya.